All right, good afternoon. We'll bring to order the Washoe County Open Space and Regional Parks Commission meeting for Tuesday, August 4th at 2:30 p.m. Roll call, please.
Stephanie Chen.
Here.
Heidi Anderson.
Here.
Doug Doolittle is not present. Thomas Gwynn.
Here.
Darla Lee.
Here.
Chris Nenzel.
Here.
Jennifer Oliver.
Here.
Greg Shorts.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. All right, Chris, will you lead us into the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay. Do we have any public comments? Okay. We're going to move on to item 4, approval of the agenda for the Open Space and Regional Parks Commission meeting of August 4th, 2020.
I'll move to approve.
All right. All right. Okay. Thank you. So all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Item 5, approval of the minutes for the Open Space and Regional Parks Commission meeting of June 2nd. Do we have any questions or discussion with the minutes?
Tom Gwynn, move to approve.
Okay,
Very short second.
thank you. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Item 6, acknowledgement and recognition of park operations staff for their outstanding service and contributions to Washoe County. Does it sound like we have any acknowledgements today? So we'll go. Hi, Eric.
Hi, Eric Crump for the record. We've had several over the past couple of months. We were hopeful that we would be able to recognize them at some meetings in person, but not sure how long that's going to take. So we're likely going to bring some of those accomplishments and acknowledgements forward in our next Zoom meeting.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, item 7, Eagle Scout presentation.
This is Eric again. We do not have an Eagle Scout presentation this meeting.
Okay, thank you.
I have a quick question on that.
Go ahead.
Greg. So I did notice on Facebook that the staff posted a wonderful project that someone did up at North Valleys. And I was wondering, are we going to be having chances to make up on those, like you were saying, for the park staff? But, it was a really spectacular job the young gentleman did, and I hope we get to recognize him.
Yeah, this is Eric. I'm not familiar with that project. Colleen might have some more information, our superintendent, but we can certainly, I think most of the folks who present are probably much better at Zoom than, say, some of us are. So we can easily do that if we have some moving forward.
Okay. Like I said, it came from the parks page, so Facebook page. It was, like I said, really nice project he did around putting the bench up there for the skate park.
Yeah, for the record, Colleen Wallace, Barnum Park Operations Superintendent. That project was, it wasn't an Eagle project, but it was a project that was a KTMV kind of a cleanup, a community cleanup event that they were doing. And so that was kind of part of what he wanted to do out there. So the staff have been doing a really good job on social media, acknowledging some of those projects, whether it's a scout group or a community group that comes out to help us. So can certainly work with our park operations staff and see if we can't get some of these Eagle Scout projects on via Zoom, because like Eric said, I'm sure they're well versed in this. This is how they did school for the last several months. So, and how many of them are going to be doing at least part-time school for the next foreseeable future. So.
I'm just curious, is there a process, or can we, as the commission, send them a thank you letter? Or some sort of thing from the commission if we can't get them in front of us? Like I said, it was just a good project. I'd like to see them acknowledged.
Yeah, this is Eric. Certainly, if you wanted to send a letter from the commission, you would work with your chair, get an item agendized, approval letter. You can certainly reach out to them as an individual park commission member as well.
I did that. All right, thanks. I just like to know it's something we have as a possibility. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Schwartz. Okay. We'll go ahead and move on to item 8, election of the Open Space and Regional Parks Commission Vice Chair for a term of August 4th, 2020 through December 31st, 2020. Commissioner Boardman's term was up and she decided not to be reappointed. So commissioners, do we have a motion to elect the new vice chair?
Who's not here?
I think everybody but Commissioner Doolittle is present today. That's correct. Any motions? Okay, I'll go ahead and make a motion to elect Commissioner Oliver to be vice chair.
I'll second. Mr. Gwynn?
Thank you, Commissioner Gwynn. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. All right, motion passes. Can we get there?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Item 9, discussion on future open space and regional park commission workshop to include date, time, location, and topics. This was recommended by Commissioner Jung at the last meeting. And so I think for this item, we're just gonna, as a board, decide when that could happen.
If I may, this is Eric Trump.
Oh, go ahead.
So, yeah, as the chair indicated, this was a follow-up to a recommendation made by Commissioner Jung. I'm not sure if Commissioner Jung is with us today.
No.
I don't think she, no.
What I was hoping to do today, we were hoping to do a workshop in person, and that may still be the direction this commission would like to go. Given the most recent directive from the governor, these mandatory Zoom meetings are indefinite, so we're not really sure when we'll be able to meet in person again. Could be next month, could be next year. I really don't know. It's anybody's guess at this time. So really wanted to understand from this commission when they would like to see a workshop, and then specifically what topic or topics you all would like to discuss and dive into. Commissioner Jung, her recommendation was really that of funding, and I think there's some real opportunities there in terms of operational funding.
And
Commissioner Schwartz, I have a question for you, Eric. Is there a time period that would be most valuable, in part of the year that for what we're trying to do, or, learning more about operations, learning more about fundraising, funding, all that kind of stuff? Is there a better time in the next 4 months for that kind of thing?
Thank you for the question, Commissioner Schwartz. Again, Eric Crump for the record. The timing is actually really good. So typical budget season for the county kicks off in October, November, and then we start getting really into it at the beginning of the year, so January, February. So it would be a good time. I could see a series of workshops. We do a pretty good kind of a budget overview in terms of the different funding mechanisms and the different funding sources within parks. And I'd really like to have a discussion around the operations piece. We're fairly good at getting funding for building things, but all of that comes with an operational cost. And it'd be good to hear. We got some really good information in our master plan update. We got some really good information from our stakeholders and the community survey we did in terms of what's important to them. We'd certainly like to hear what's important to you all and maybe prioritizing some of those activities. So, you know, one would expect that operational fundings, this next fiscal year, it's going to be highly competitive. And we may have to make some decisions as to where we put our resources. So, and we may be putting our resources in the right place, but I think it's worthy of an exercise to determine what's important to our community, and what's maybe less important, still may be important, but maybe less important. Make sure we're putting our resources where we need to be.
So Commissioner Nenzels.
From what you were saying, it sounded like, this is Commissioner Shorts again, that probably something at the end of September might be a good time frame for us to do this.
Just again, for the record, Eric Crump. Yeah, September, October would be a great kickoff to that, and I could see several meetings for that.
So as Commissioner Nengel, is this something that the president and the vice would like to select several commission members to attend and then have the commission members report back to the remainder of the commission in a normal scheduled meeting? Or is this something that we would like all the commissioners to attend?
This is Eric Crump for the record. I would suggest this would be good for all of the commission members. Many folks have seen some of the presentations that we've done on budgets. I'm not sure if we've gotten to all of you, but it's a really good overview of how the different funding sources move, how in the parts of the organization that they fund, and then we can get into. I think it would be important to get feedback from all of you.
And this is District Attorney Lindsay Liddell. I just wanted to clarify for you guys that because the commissioners will be present discussing park operations, this technically would be an open meeting, would require an agenda, a physical location, depending on what the directives look like. Like Eric said, it could be over Zoom, but I just wanted to clarify for you guys that just because it's labeled a workshop, that we would still need to notify the public and provide them notice of what would be discussed.
So, as talking about timeframes or something like that, would like the week of September 28th through October 2nd, that kind of time frame, right before our meeting for October, would that be kind of the time frame we might want to look at?
And maybe what would be easier, this is Commissioner Chen, if we could get this organized, just send out a doodle poll just so that everyone can look at their calendars and maybe identify, a couple of dates that would work for us. Then perhaps we could go about identifying a time to have this workshop. Is everyone open to that idea?
Yeah, Commissioner Nenzel, I agree with that idea.
Okay. Okay. So I think everyone is in agreement that we like the idea of the workshop, around topics such as funding, operational funding, and what we'll do for next steps is generate a doodle poll and get everyone's availability, and we'll identify a date that way. Okay.
This is Jennifer Oliver. Does the actual establishment of the meeting time and location need to be done at an open meeting?
This is District Attorney Lindsay Liddell. At this point, the agenda item is not for action. However, the chair could set a meeting unilaterally, and who comes, it's up to them. So short answer, not really.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is Eric Crump, and just for clarification, so understanding the desire to do a workshop somewhere in late September, early October timeframe, we can certainly do a workshop during a regular scheduled meeting too. There's nothing keeping us from doing that. So do we want to stick with, so we can set up a doodle poll appropriately? Are we looking at including the next regularly scheduled meeting? Do we like the same times? Do we like evenings, knowing the public will be invited either via Zoom or in person, depending on the directive at the time? And then any topics, obviously operational funding, that's a large one, but if there's any specific topics you'd like us to include, we'd like to hear those as well.
It's Commissioner Nenzel. I think maybe we should limit the doodle poll to not include the meeting, because you can always have the workshop during the meeting, and you can work with the parks folks to figure out what times work for them, and then we can see if we can all agree on a time.
And this is Commissioner Chen. I echo that. So what Commissioner Nenzel had said, that we'll still complete a doodle poll outside of our normal scheduled times and try to identify what works best for park staff as well. Good.
And Commissioner Nenzel, again, that way, if anything comes out of the workshop that needs to be an action item, it can be added to the follow-up meeting, which is shortly after the workshop, for that agenda.
That sounds good.
Okay. Any other questions, discussions?
No, I'll move this. Oh, go ahead.
This is Commissioner Glenn. Like to, for a topic also, I'd like to understand the grant funding that the county is. So a brief conversation, that'd be great.
And if anyone else, oh, go ahead, sorry.
This is Commissioner Oliver. I think it was AB 178 in the last legislative session, not the special session, regarding additional funding opportunities. And I just would want that to be a topic in addition, you know, kind of the context of the funding, how that would fit in. If I think that was to establish districts and what that might look like if that's even still viable.
Thanks for that, Commissioner Oliver. I was just about to say the same thing.
This is Commissioner Anderson. If we could get maybe some information on any CARES Act funding that you might be looking at as well, any Parks and Recreation funding that's coming down, I'd love to hear any information that's coming from that.
Thank you, commissioners. And if anyone else, thinks of a topic between now and for the date that we identify, please feel free to email, I guess, myself or Kathy, and we can certainly get that requested to be discussed at our workshop. Okay. So since this is a discussion, I don't think we need a motion. We'll go ahead and move on to item 10, Parks reports.
Before we move on, can I ask who's going to be responsible for generating the doodle poll?
I'm happy to do that, or I can also work with Kathy
Okay.
to get that sent out to the rest of the commissioners.
Well, since I'm just wondering, since we're volunteers and the parks people are actually, they're taking time out. If we do an evening meeting, they'd be taking time out of their lives. If Eric, if you're willing to do it, that might be the best option because you have a better sense of your people's time and commitments.
Yeah, this is Eric Crump for the record. I missed just a little bit of that. Commissioner Menzel, you were interested in an evening meeting or you're not interested in an evening meeting?
I'm not sure. No, I was just trying to figure out who's going to be responsible for scheduling the doodle poll to schedule the meeting, Director Crump.
Yeah, we can have Kathy Emerson will likely set that up. An email will come from her.
Okay, very good. Sorry. I'm not trying to make this overly complicated. Really, I'm not.
Okay. Okay, any other discussions around our future workshop?
No.
Okay, we'll go ahead and move on to item 10, the parks reports.
This is Colleen Wallace Barnum for the record, Park Operations Superintendent. Park District reports are a little light. As you can see, we've got, we don't have a lot of events, obviously in the parks in June. Since this is a park report for both June and July, I'll be happy to report on both. We did reopen our reservable outdoor picnic pavilions in addition to our indoor facilities with modifications of groups no more than 50. That was part of the phase 2 reopening. So we did wind up reopening the campground and the reservable group camp areas for 50 or less. So just know that those were available and have been. Bowers Mansion and Bowers Pool are both still under construction. So there's a lot of work going on out there from the construction end of things. And staff has been busy just really with the increased use in parks. I believe Eric brought it up at Eric Crump brought up at our last meeting that through Google Analytics, they were able to show that, parks was an over 50% increase, during the shutdown, during the whole entire time that people couldn't really, go out and do many things before June hit. So we have still seen that, that increased attendance is still happening in our parks. It's definitely busy. And they've been spending that time just kind of taking care of everything, which has been good. We've been able to hire our seasonal staff, and it's been super helpful to stay on top of everything. Here I'm just looking at we did wind up, we were hoping to reopen the Hawkins Amphitheater for some shows, but that did not happen. And then come July 17th, we were provided some information from regionally that we had to reduce our numbers of our group sizes to 25 or less. So we reached out to all of our, our reservable groups that had picnic areas and buildings reserved, and let them know that they had to either reduce their numbers to 25. They could cancel with a full refund, or they could reschedule for a future date. Most have been either canceling or rescheduling. Very few have opted to, reduce the size to 25. I do want to let you know, though, we have had a few groups that have chose to move forward with their event with the caveat of the reduced number, and on 2 occasions we saw groups of over 100. And we were really disappointed, and we actually have noted it on paperwork. The groups were notified of their violations, so we're just keeping track of those incidences when they take place. We were rather surprised because they were given, all the information and agreed to make those accommodations, and we found just on 2 occasions that they did not. So just wanted to make sure you knew about that. And then we're hoping to reopen the mansion, maybe in the next week or 2 for tours. We would obviously do that in a very modified fashion, face coverings required, small group sizes. I don't know that we would even go with more than 10. And then there's also just the ability to kind of have some indoor and outdoor. We can break it up into 2 groups. So we'll modify that operation and keep the group sizes small. And then on to the Arboretum and Museum. The Arboretum on average has been seeing, I believe it's about a 28% increase overall during the month of, it looks like the month of June, July. So they've been seeing some increase in numbers. They're just, they're still open, offices are closed, and they're just working on lots of projects, which has been great. They're gonna do a design plan for a new succulent garden, which is being funded by the Arboretum Society. They have some installation of kiosks, new water features, and then irrigation upgrades at some of the different gardens. And then the Arboretum operations, they did receive some funding from the Arboretum Society for 2 positions. They're hired through Manpower, so they're temporary positions, but they are year-round, and it's been extremely helpful for them to stay on top of their work. The main museum, we did reopen to the public on June 24th. According to staff, the numbers have been steady, not busy, not crowded. Compliance with face coverings has been excellent. People have been basically happy to be able to enter the museum regardless of what we're asking them to do. So it's just nice to be able to have some visitors there. We did have a no-touch, just art exhibit called America the Beautiful, which was well received. It was part of Art Town, just one of the few Art Town events that was able to continue to take place. And that was nice to see. So museum is operating, on their normal schedule, which is Tuesday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Volunteer report, we have had volunteers. Our volunteer program has been modified. So the majority of volunteers are just one or 2 people at the most. We do get volunteers at the Arboretum regularly, which is wonderful. Helps keep up on that place, but they are required to wear face coverings if they are approached by the members of the public. And then just small groups of, like I said, maybe 2 or so, and then probably that scout project that Commissioner Schwartz was referring to was one of the events that we did in concert with KTMB, because they did their great community cleanup, but we just did it kind of on maybe every other week, and then it was park specific, so they just really focused on a park or a location rather than all of those locations on one day like they normally used to do. So that's all I have really for the park reports for volunteers, the districts, and the May Center. I do have both Joanne Lowden and Sophia Kirschman. They're both here as part of the meeting to provide you some more updates on planning. Did you have any specific questions on any of the reports that I provided before we move on to planning?
Commissioner Lee, Colleen, I'm just curious, how do you monitor and know how many people are using the Arboretum, for example?
They have a counter at both of the gate entrances, and it's just a pedestrian counter. It's an infrared, line that just gets, when it breaks, that's how it counts. So they do have numbers for both the west entrance and the south entrance.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, all right. I guess maybe we'll go with Joanne. Joanne, if you have some more in-depth updates for some of your planning projects.
Sure, Joanne Lowden, Natural Resource Planner for the record. So you'll start with the Riverbend project. So we've been working on a new trailhead along the Truckee River out near Verdi, Nevada. So this project would create a 10 stall parking area, and we'd also have a river access path that would provide fishing access and also tie into a dam portage around the Island Ditch Dam out there that someone's going to be working on. So we've been working on this project. Sophia's been working on the BLA portion, and I've been working more on the implementation side. And so far, we've gotten our preliminary site plans drafted up. We went to the city of Reno, and they've issued us a special use permit for the project. We just hired a contractor to prepare an environmental assessment for the project. And they finished that up, and that's currently on the park website for public comment, and we'll be accepting comments on that through September 2nd. The reason that we did an EA for this project is because we are going after some federal grant funding, and I'm happy to report that we submitted this project for a Land and Water Conservation Fund grant, and it has been approved so far by Nevada State Parks, and they're going to be forwarding that to the Park Service this December for final approval. So pretty much when we get our final approval, we should have funding around March of 2021 to start moving forward with this project. In the meantime, we've got some leftover SB1 funding that we'll be using to start finalizing the site plans. So that's pretty much the update on Riverbend. We also submitted a second project for a Land and Water Conservation Fund grant that was also approved. That one is for the Rancho all-inclusive playground. So that one would actually be redoing the existing playground that's out there and then providing some additional ADA upgrades, some additional parking spaces, better sidewalks, fencing around the entire area, and a covered accessible picnic area. So that's the other project that was awarded. Let's see, other than that, we hired Resource Concepts to complete an integrated vegetation management plan for our Truckee River Park and open space areas. They completed that plan at the end of June, so we have the final version of that now. Let's see, Lower Thomas Creek project, we actually started construction on July 15th. They've completed all of the trail maintenance between Arrow Creek Park and Gillespie Lane, so that part is done. They're getting ready to put in the bridge crossing starting tomorrow. So we expect to be done with the actual construction at the end of this week. So basically improved about 2 miles of existing trail and just brought it up to sustainable trail standards. And then we included a creek crossing with that because the trail had originally gone across private property and was cut off. So we ended up rerouting it back across the creek, and now it stays on Washington County property all the way to the end. I'm in the process of getting some signage ordered, and we'll get some signs up there too, some directional signage and other things to go with that. Let's see, and finally, we accepted an award from the Nevada Department of Wildlife to do some improvements out at the regional archery and shooting facilities. Those grant funds are going to be used to develop a master plan for the regional archery facility, which is something that Sophia's going to be working on. And then we'll also be using the money to do some classroom upgrades, some berm construction, and we'll be doing improvements to the parking area, the access road, and the drainage ways out there. So those are pretty much my highlights. Does anybody have any questions?
Commissioner Lee, just reiterate how many parking spaces that you were going to have for this Riverbend project?
Yeah, so we're doing, the plan is for 10 parking spaces, and then we'll have a large area that will be a turnaround and loading zone. The idea is that we think people will probably be loading a lot of gear and rafts and other things because it's going to be a portage location, so it'll be a new takeout and put in for the Truckee River. So 10 official parking spots, 1 ADA, and then we'll have that loading area.
So you think that 10 is going to be enough for the area?
So we were constrained by the size of the site. And also by the City of Reno code, so that's what we were able to do with the constraints on the site.
So is there other parking? I mean, if this is anything, I'm just thinking about the one in Tahoe where the parking, I believe I heard now is you have to pay for the parking, and that was that for the amount of people that were using it, that parking was really insufficient. So I'm just, trying to see if we can avoid another situation like that. Although the rafting is probably not, as near as popular as the Lake Tahoe. But so is there any additional parking available at the Riverbend besides these official spaces?
So there won't be any additional space on county property, but there is additional parking currently along Highway 40. And there's also a parking lot across the street that was put in by the development there.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, if there aren't any more questions for Joanne, I will jump in. This is Sophia Christian, Park Planner with Washoe County. Just a couple of things to add to what Joanne has already covered. So first, in terms of the regional archery facility master plan, we did complete that request for proposals and are in the process of posting that online. So we will start soliciting proposals hopefully sometime by the end of this week or next week. That request for proposals will be open for 3 weeks. So hopefully we'll have selected a consultant to move forward on that sometime in the next month or so. In terms of the Riverbend boundary line adjustment portion of that project, I won't go into too much detail just because we had a presentation on that in June. But the boundary line adjustment process is pretty involved, as you all heard before, so we're just sort of slowly moving forward on all of those steps that have to be completed. In terms of the Blackstone Estates Park Maintenance Agreement, it says here that that agreement was approved by the Board of County Commissioners. Just to add to that, and to refresh your memories, it's for the construction of a neighborhood park within the Blackstone Estates subdivision that would utilize residential construction tax funds. It will be located on the east side of Pyramid Highway, just north of Calle de la Plata. And the developer did let me know that they submitted their building permit application to the county on June 1st. So hopefully construction of the park will be beginning pretty soon here. In terms of those Betsy Collin Donnelly easements and the mitigation, that was all approved by the Board of County Commissioners. And the property owners who requested those easements, the company is Mayberry Gardens LLC, they recently submitted an application to the Truckee Meadows Water Authority to set up that new water connection for the park. So that application is in, everything's looking good there, and the developer is looking to begin construction on that project next week. So hopefully we'll have a new water connection pretty soon here as well. A couple of things that are not in the report, but just in case you're interested. So there has been some testing going on out at Hidden Valley Regional Park. And as many of you may know, Washoe County operates the South Truckee Meadows Wastewater Reclamation Facility, or STUMWRF, and it's located pretty close to Hidden Valley Regional Park. So the Washoe County Engineering Division is looking at some potential locations, including Hidden Valley Regional Park, to distribute treated effluent water from the facility. And so right now they are in the process of conducting some preliminary tests at the park to figure out whether or not the soils are right and whether or not this could be a good location for the distribution of effluent water. It's a long process, and there are still a wide variety of tests that would need to be performed and would need to be successful to actually move forward with distributing effluent water at the park. But if it is identified as a good location, effluent water could potentially be used to support future park amenities. One idea that's been thrown around is sort of the creation of a wetlands trail area that would be a nice amenity for those community members. Any park amenities or effluent distribution would need to be brought to the Hidden Valley community for discussion, review, and input, and that would likely be in the form of a Hidden Valley master plan update process. And so all in all, this is kind of a long process, and if it's successful, would probably take a couple of years. But could be a nice collaboration between Washoe County Parks and Washoe County Engineering if it all works out. And then we also have a couple of right of entry applications in from the Nevada Division of Forestry. They are interested in performing some fuels hazard reduction projects at Galena Creek Regional Park, Davis Creek Regional Park, and several of our open space properties. And that would primarily consist of just clearing some dead shrubs and completing reseeding or revegetation efforts. But a nice partnership there as well to help us kind of manage some of those high hazard fuel areas. And then we also have one easement application a parkland easement application from NV Energy on a parcel in Verdi that is actually right just a little bit east of the Riverbend property, and that will be coming before you at the next meeting for review. I think that that's everything on my end, but any questions?
Thank you, Sophia, and thank you, Joanne, for your updates.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Chair. This is Dave Solero. If I may jump in for the golf report at this point.
Yes, please go ahead.
So I think this is a good spot to jump in just to give the Commission an update on currently where Washoe County stands with golf. So you have reported for the Sierra Sage Golf Course and the Washoe County Golf Course. Those are pretty standard reports. I think one thing of note on the Sierra Sage report anyway, Mr. Masperry does a pretty good job of showing some historical dates for numbers of rounds, going back through, I think, all the way through 2012 to present. If you look at that report, you'll notice that the last 2 months have been record-breaking years and months, or at least months for Sierra Sage. well over 6,000 rounds per month, which is pretty good for our little course out there. A lot of that is attributed to the value of our parks and open space and recreation opportunities, especially during this COVID time. So that's our two kind of standard courses. The Board of County Commissioners also entered into a limited agreement with Mike Mazzaferri to operate the Wild Creek property. So that currently consists of the par 3 9-hole course that is right there on McCarran that you see, as well as a what they're calling the Creek 6, which is 6 full-length holes associated with the old 18-hole course. It's kind of a little experiment that Mike and I negotiated for use of that course to see if we can make what kind of sustainable course we can have going forward. As you'll recall, we had some designs for another 9-hole full-length course, but as we lost our golf operator due to COVID, we had to shift gears. So we're going to have about a 3.5-month kind of trial period to see how a 6-hole course and a 9-hole par 3 work out at that location. So if any of you are golfers, I suggest you go out there and give it a try and let me know how your experience goes. So with that, here to answer any questions you may have on golf. Thank you.
Commissioner Lee, Dave, is the 3, you said it was a 3-month contract with Mike at the Wild Creek?
It's actually about a 4.5 to 5 month. It runs through November 15th of this year.
Okay. And so the course is supposed to be open through November, and then it closes for a time?
Yeah, we wanted to take some time to be able to evaluate the performance, the revenue we received, the expenditures, so that we can craft an agreement. Certainly, if there are some provisions in there to extend the life of that agreement, if weather is permitting. We're running kind of this really tight balance on expenditures versus revenue, and weather's going to play a role into that. So we wanted to leave a little bit of flexibility, but also have the opportunity to be able to shut down the course, so we didn't hemorrhage money, so to speak, out of that golf fund while we make sure that we can sustain golf at that facility.
Well, as you know, we live quite close, and it seems like the parking lot is they seem to be doing well with what they have. What about the plans for the redesign? I know you said before that's probably not going to happen until next year. Is that still the case?
Currently, that is the case. I've got the plans. I've got a contractor kind of waiting to see what happens. Obviously, I've got an operator out there now operating the course on a day-to-day basis. He's got some ideas about potential future of that property. So I still have the plans. I've got the money. I've got the project ready to go. We will make some decisions in the December timeframe based on what we learn over this 4.5 to 5 month period.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
I actually have a procedural question about that, about their contract on that. I know Commissioner Lee is extremely interested in what goes on out there and has brought it up in a couple of meetings. Isn't that something that should have been brought before us at some point in time for our input, or how's that supposed to work?
Yeah, Commissioner Shorts, that's a great question, and I would normally say yes, I should bring everything before this board for your advice to take it to the Board of County Commissioners. But as you'll recall, we were in the middle of the kind of summer time frame. We had taken park staff from other parks to maintain a golf course. That's not really what we do on a day-to-day basis. I had an opportunity where I'd gotten a proposal from one of our other golf operators. Time was of the essence, and so I made the choice to go directly to the Board of County Commissioners for that. Just knowing, through conversations with this board in the past, the importance of that property and wanting to keep it green and viable, I thought that was the best course of action.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Solero, for that update. Okay. We'll go ahead and move on to item 11, Director's Report.
All right, good afternoon again. Dave Solero, Assistant County Manager for the record. Sophia and Joanne covered quite a few of the updates that the Board of County Commissioners had done with the Riverbend property, the archery shooting facility grant, the Blackstone Estates agreement, some of those things. But I think one of the things that's really important to point out to this group are a couple of things that we did. During the period, I believe, let's see, it was the second quarter of calendar year 2020, the board accepted about $8,600 worth of cash and in-kind donations to the park program for Washoe County. I think it's very important to recognize, even with this group here, the donations and the time and value from our community that we continue to get. Also, on July 21st, the board approved a $320,000 donation from the Wilbur May Foundation. This is a donation that we receive pretty regularly from the May Foundation year to year. $220,000 is restricted for operating support of the Wilbur D. May Center, and $100,000 goes to support temporary exhibits at the Wilbur D. May Center. Without these donations from the Wilbur May Foundation, Washoe County could not operate that facility up there. And I think it's very important to understand the monetary input that we get from that specific group to have a museum there at Rancho San Rafael that really showcases some of the heritage of our community. So I wanted to bring those forward to you just as acknowledgement of not only the community and the donations we get there, but also from the May Foundation. So I do not have anything else to report, as like I said, Sophia and Joanne covered quite a few of those items update from the Board of County Commissioners.
Thank you. Okay. We'll move on to item 12, Commissioners' comments. Okay.
I'm good.
Nothing here. Anyone have any comments, announcements?
Yeah, this is Commissioner Gwynn. I just wanted to say thank you for the donations. That is, during these crazy times, that's well appreciated. A couple other items, we had a major fire over by our house off Mount Rose Highway, so I just wanted to thank all the firefighters, as well as Washoe County. You know, they have a lot of staff that come out here and do road control, as well as, you know, all sorts of things. So Washoe Police, Washoe Public Works, I'm sure Parks were involved in there too. And then finally, I was able to see the new Tahoe trail from the water. It's absolutely amazing. I know that it was a joint effort between Washoe County and a bunch of entities, but they did a fabulous job on that trail. It's really beautiful. I think it's up for actually a national award for public works throughout the United States. So just give my congratulations for the coordination efforts. I couldn't even imagine how hard that was to get all those stakeholders together and deal with the environmental concerns and all that good stuff. But you guys did a great job. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Gwynn. Any other comments? Okay. Hearing none, we'll go on and move on to item 13, public comments. Okay, we don't have any. Thank you, everyone, for joining the meeting today. We'll adjourn the meeting at 3:19.